next on the agenda, we will listen to a fireside chat with the people behind Blacksmith. Blacksmith is from ING Labs, and they will talk about their journey being a startup in a big bank environment. They will share their challenges, tips, tricks, and recommendations. This discussion will be led by Helen Langton, CEO of the International Compliance Association. And we're going to have about 20 minutes for this fireside chat. Towards the end of this chat, I'll share a time reminder just to make sure that we keep to the schedule and to keep things moving smoothly. So without further ado, I'd like to pass on to Helen when you're ready to kick off with our fireside chat, and best of luck.
Morning, everybody, and thank you very much for your nice introduction, AJ. Also, I'd like to welcome you to this fireside chat where we have the inspiring title From Ideation to a Valuable Product. And I am joined today by Nynke and Patrycja from ING Labs in Singapore. And firstly, can I start with you, Nynke? A brief introduction to yourself, your role and the activities you do within ING.
Sorry, and if I can ask Helen, would you possibly be able to turn on your camera?
Yeah, I'm trying to right now.
Okay, wonderful. I'll leave it with you. Good luck.
Okay, thanks. Please go ahead. And I'll join up with the camera shortly.
I was actually also looking. Is my camera on?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me also then see if I can. Ah, yeah. Wait. Ah, yes. I think there I am. So thanks, Helen. It's really great to be here today. We're actually pretty excited, and we're looking forward to this event. So yeah, my name is Nynke Postma. I'm the founder and venture lead of Blacksmith. So after working in various roles at ING Netherlands for over 15 years, in 2017 I came to Singapore, where I started the Blacksmith initiative as one of the frontrunners of ING Innovation Labs. Today I'm still responsible for the overall management and the business strategy of this venture. 3 years ago we started with a very small team, only 3 people working on it, but in the meanwhile we have grew the venture to having a team of around 20 people that on a daily basis design, build, test and implement the platform that we have built. So Patrycja is one of the team, but I'll let her introduce herself.
Great. Patrycja?
Hi, good morning. My name is Patrycja Wisniewska. I'm the product lead of Blacksmith, responsible for product vision, development, and evolution. So in my daily work, I interact a lot with the clients and the users of our platform, being the KYC analysts or compliance managers, to really understand their challenges and problems and translate those challenges in the needs and software design. I also work a lot with developers to make sure that what is being built is really addressing these issues.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. Okay, so Blacksmith, tell us exactly what it is and the solution that you have built there in Blacksmith, and what makes it so different. So Patrycja, do you want to take that?
Yeah, let me take this one because that's a very exciting topic. You know, for many years, KYC operations were seen as back office. So actually, I was listening to the previous panel right before us, and it was very interesting to say that all the innovation in financial institutions happened with retail customers. Happened on mobile apps, on the contact moments of the customer, and not that much in a back office. Because for many years, KYC operations were seen as processing units, as a cost center. Now times are different. You see that the cost of operations is just very high, and banks see it as priority to tackle both the cost and bring the human aspect to KYC, so that you can really understand who your counterparties are, who your customers are. So as Nynke said, 2 years ago, she joined as a front runner the innovation labs of ING here in Singapore. and started with the ideation phase. So at ING, we work with so-called PACE methodology, which combines the design thinking and lean startup and agile in order to build ventures. So Nynke started by 4 months project where she was working a lot with the users and different banks and trying to understand what are the problems that the KYC world is facing, what are the issues. And after that, she came up to the conclusion that actually the biggest problem lies in processing a large amount of data, because there's so much data in a bank, and then applying the specific rules and policy settings on this big data set to understand what the red flags are. Is this customer really a high risk profile for the location where you're operating or the products that you're having? And Nynke, having a background in digital and tech, she said, okay, we need a piece of software that will be able to aggregate data from many different sources and apply the policy settings of bank to really pick up these points that are relevant for the risk assessment so that it is ready for the KYC analyst who can have the final say, the final judgment, whether this customer is a high risk or not.
Okay, that's fascinating, very impressive, and the solution clearly does help meet some of the challenges that organizations are facing today. Nynke, can I turn to you? So how did you design this platform for the solutions?
Yeah, so I think Patrycja already made I think a very good introduction of that. So within ING, we really take a customer-centric approach towards innovation, which means that we always start from a real customer problem. So before we even start thinking about solutions, we're really taking the time to truly understand who our customer and who our users are. So what is their daily challenges? Which of those challenges have priorities over others? So yeah, we really started by observing human behavior before we even explored the potential solutions or started studying the newest technologies we could use. So also for us, this utilization of new technology is not a goal. It's just the means to an end. And our PACE innovation methodology really guides us through these different stages of innovation, where the continuous validation of your riskiest assumptions is key. And that helps us to validate and learn so that as a startup, you can either succeed or fail fast. Because within the industry, we still see many innovations that fail at a later stage when they already put in a lot of effort and a lot of money. They started from a solution or a technology. And after that, they find themselves struggling to find like the right customer segment to it or the right use case for that. And PACE has really prevented us to really step into that same pitfall and really put our customers at the center of our innovations.
I think that's quite an interesting insight, because clearly being customer centric and always having that customer at the forefront of your mind is a key driver of success in any activity. And I'm interested to explore this a little bit with you. You mentioned earlier on about some organizations come at this from a compliance management control process driven perspective lens, if you will. And here we are, and we're looking at an approach which is much more human centric in its approach. So how are you doing this? Actually, how are you translating this theory into reality within Blacksmith?
Yeah. So it's as you said, so I think that within large organizations, we don't always utilize the human capital in the best way we can. So as Patrycja said, to tackle KYC challenges, organizations often just throw in extra bodies to get the work done.
Yeah. Throw armies at it, don't they, really? And then just sort of lots of more resources, throw lots of people at it, and we're bound to solve the problem.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and another way to resolve issues is, of course, process automation. But often also there we feel there's not always enough focus on the element of user interaction, which will always remain an important part of this process. So I really feel that if you want to optimize, you need to make sure that computers do what they're good at and humans do what they're good at.
Yeah.
And humans should not collect huge amounts of data or copy paste it into a tool or complete standardized checklists. Computers are much better at doing that. So humans should use their skills to analyze information, to spot red flags, to gather key insights from the information that the data that they're presented with. So they're the final judges of the risk assessment, and automation should only enable them to do that. And that's, I think, really the philosophy behind Blacksmith. So using technology to enable our users to leverage their talents and really make them do what they're good at.
I think you make a good point there, and I'm hoping that those listening in will also recognize this. And it's interesting, isn't it? We continue to involve our technological thinking. We continue to involve our systems, our processes. We make them efficient. We configure them with the end user in mind. But we also mustn't forget, as humans, we too have to evolve, and we have to be able to increase our skills, our level of knowledge, and our understanding that keeps track with the technology that we're harnessing. So the training and education piece, the evolution of the human piece continues, has an equal requirement. So to have them hand in hand will hopefully produce some really useful results. So thank you for that. I'd like to turn away now, if I may, from the platform itself, and I'd like to explore a little bit more in terms of intrapreneurship versus entrepreneurship, if I can put it in those terms. And in your experience, what have you found to be the advantages and disadvantages in your journey with Blacksmith, and the decision to create a solution on an in-house basis rather than working with an external vendor? Because I'm sure there's organizations here that are listening in to sort of better understand what led you to that decision, and what's, how's it all manifest?
Yeah, well, very, very, very good question, right? Because that's always a challenge, right? Where you want to build a solution in-house or buy it. Now, when it comes to RegTech, I do believe that there is a huge advantage of building it inside a bank, because you have access to the users and you have access to information about how KYC processes are executed or AML processes are executed, which an external company does not have. To give you an example, with Blacksmith, we tested every single button, every single business that is on our platform has been extensively tested with the KYC analysts, with the compliance officers from ING and beyond. Because also when we're talking to other banks to learn about their experiences, they treat us differently, being ING, being a counterparty bank rather than a commercial company. So we're Blacksmith, when we were back in the office before the whole COVID, our team was sitting on the same floor in Guaco Tower as the KYC analyst. So that's something that no external company can have. So that's a strong advantage. Another advantage is of course sponsorship of ING labs. And it's not only financial, but also opening the doors, getting things done. A big corporate like ING, it has a maze of people who have to take decisions. So being an insider helps you convince all the parties, legal, risk, compliance officers, that your solution is right, especially if you're tackling the right problems. Now, there's also a downside to that, right? So being grown inside of a regulated financial institutions, we have to comply with the same rules as a bank, meaning that we have very strict rules related to data protection and cybersecurity, which makes the cost of building our platform much higher than a company. And also our time to market is longer.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Because ING of the size, it's enabled it to have this option where, of course, we have to recognize that there are smaller organizations that may not be in the same position. But Nynke, I'd like to turn for you for a minute. Spare us no details. What's gone well? What's not gone so well?
Yeah, so I really think that indeed the experience and let's start always on the positive side. Huh? So the experience and support that framework that we have within the bank is one of the key success factors. So
Okay.
this methodology where we're talking about PACE has really helped us to build this user-centric product.
Mm.
I think also on top of that, our corporate backgrounds have really helped us to navigate the corporate structure and the stakeholder network. So in that way, we were also able to ultimately leverage these benefits of corporate innovation, but also able to manage the downsides of it. Because I really think that if you don't know how large financial institutions work, you really might find yourself struggling to get things done.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm going to interrupt you, and I apologize, Nynke.
Yeah,
We've
no
only
worries.
got a couple of minutes left, and I'm very keen to draw upon the experience of both of you, if I may, for the people listening in relation to what advice, what would you share with individual organizations, founders of startups, people working with startups in to make their project a success? So Nynke, can I start with you, and then Patrycja, perhaps you could add your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's, I think, from our journey, a tricky learning. So first of all, I always say, be stubborn in understanding your customer and the problem that you want to solve.
Yeah, good advice.
Always keep an open mind to the solution that you're building. So keep putting yourself in the shoes of your customer, because if we would have built what we've initially thought the industry needed, we wouldn't have succeeded. Second of all, I always say, don't manage your stakeholders, engage them. And
it's a good subtle difference, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. I think you really need to make sure that you find your sponsors, that you embrace them, that you take them along in your journey, that you celebrate the successes together, because you really want to make sure that they are also there when things get rough, and really need them to help you to push through. And third one, and certainly not less important, and this is really the core of also our methodology, is continuously keep on validating those things that are key for the success of your ventures. So assume things, talk to your clients, and run various experiments, and also define clear metrics that convince yourself and others that you're really onto something. Because venture builder, as a venture builder, you have to be careful that you're not like nurturing pet projects and chase after those things that you really like, but that aren't necessarily important. Because I think even more often you will need to rethink, you will need to pivot, and sometimes even simply just stop the things that you're doing.
Stop the things you're doing. Patrycja, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to follow on from that before I wrap up. Otherwise, AJ will hunt me down.
Look for partnerships, look for collaboration. This way you can grow much faster. It's in the spirit of looking for sponsorships, stakeholders and partners. And join us in our virtual booth in the afternoon so that we can get to know each other better.
That's great. So thank you. Some great advice there. Collaboration is key. Customer centricity, absolutely essential. Never give up the fight, and keep engaging with people rather than just managing them. I think there's some great insights there for everybody. So thanks, ladies, ever so much for sharing your experience. I'm sure there's some good takeaways for everybody. And with that, I will say back to you, AJ.
Great. Thank you very much, Helen, for leading a very interesting fireside chat. I'm really thrilled as a customer of the financial services industry for many, many years, hearing about customer centricity. I've always thought financial services has been the most uncustomer centric industry of them all, other than maybe government, if you consider that an industry. So hearing you today is really a breath of fresh air. And if this is the future of banking and compliance, it really is a great change. Thank you very much for sharing your experience.